Welcome to the deep dive. We've gotten a lot of interesting material from listeners lately, and it really seems to boil down to one big challenge. How do you actually manage AI and machine learning projects effectively? Feels a bit chaotic sometimes, right?
It really does. So many tools, so many approaches, it's easy to get lost.
Yeah, exactly. So our mission today is to sort of cut through that noise and really focus on one specific framework that seems promising, CPMAI version 7.
Absolutely. And it's crucial, I think, because without a solid management approach, these amazing AI projects, they can just fizzle out. Unclear goals, bad data, models that just don't work in the real world.
Right. Seen that happen.
Yeah.
So let's just dive right in. What is CPMAI v7 exactly?
Yeah. So CPMAI, it stands for Cognitive Project Management for AI. Think of it as a structured methodology. It cleverly blends principles from Agile, which everyone knows for its flexibility, and CRISP DM, that's the cross-industry standard process for data mining,
Yeah.
really strong on the data side. And crucially, it layers in AI governance right from the start. It's really about building AI responsibly and efficiently.
And version 7 specifically.
Yeah.
What's new or improved there?
Good question. Version 7 brings some really key enhancements. There's a much stronger focus on AI governance and compliance. Super important now with all the regulations popping up. It also boosts scalability. It does this by integrating more tightly with Agile practices and MLO, machine learning operations.
Right. MLOs.
Yeah.
For deployment and management.
Exactly. And finally, it improves how we monitor models after they're deployed and automates retraining, which is vital for keeping AI systems useful.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Can you maybe give us a quick example, like where would this framework really shine?
Sure. Think about an AI chatbot for customer service, a common project. Without something like CPMAI, you might launch it, but then, its answers get outdated, or maybe it starts showing weird biases.
Yeah.
CPMAI pushes you to think about that upfront. Set up monitoring, define ethical guidelines, plan for how you'll update its knowledge. It prevents those downstream problems.
Gotcha. So it provides that structure. How does it actually break down a project then?
It uses 6 distinct phases. It guides you through the whole life cycle.
Okay, 6 phases. Let's tackle them. Phase 1 is business understanding. What's the core idea?
Yeah, business understanding. The goal here is simple but critical. Figure out what the AI project is really meant to achieve for the business. It's about connecting the tech to tangible goals.
So like defining KPIs.
Exactly. Defining measurable KPIs. And not just the results at the end, the lagging indicators, but also leading KPIs. Things that tell you if you're heading in the right direction during the project. You also need to identify ethical risks and compliance stuff right here.
That feels foundational, but that's a common mistake here. Launching too quickly.
Totally. The biggest pitfall is jumping into building something cool without being absolutely clear on the business problem you're solving. You got to keep asking relentlessly, what problem are we actually solving here? Get everyone on the same page about the outcomes.
Right. Nail down the why before the what or how. Makes sense. So after we understand the business need, what's phase 2?
Phase 2 is data understanding. Now we shift focus to the data itself, the raw materials for the AI.
Okay, data understanding. What are we looking for?
You're assessing everything about the data. Its quality, its structure, potential biases lurking within it. Are there missing values? Inconsistencies? Is the data diverse enough, or is it skewed?
Biases.
Yeah.
Like the facial recognition issues we've heard about.
Precisely. If your data is mainly one demographic, your model won't work well for others. You also need to understand legal constraints here, things like GDPR or CCPA. What can you actually do with this data?
So a really thorough investigation of the data assets. Got it.
What?
What comes after understanding the data, getting it ready?
Exactly. Phase 3. Data preparation. This is where you take that raw, sometimes messy data and transform it into a clean, usable format that the AI models can actually learn from. It's often the most time-consuming part.
Right. What does that involve? Just cleaning?
Cleaning is a big part, yeah. Fixing errors, handling missing values, but also structuring it, maybe normalizing values so features are comparable. And critically, feature engineering.
Feature engineering, creating new data points.
Sort of. Creating new features from the existing data that might help the model perform better. Like from transaction timestamps, you might create a time of day feature or day of week. And ideally, you automate these prep steps using data pipelines tools like DVC, MLflow, Airflow help here. Makes it repeatable and efficient.
Okay, so this is really the heavy lifting to get good quality input for the AI.
Absolutely. Garbage in, garbage out, right? Good data prep is non-negotiable for real-world performance. Automation saves time and reduces errors dramatically.
Makes perfect sense. All right, data prep. What's phase 4?
Phase 4 is model development. Now we actually get to build the AI models, training them, refining them.
This is the part everyone thinks of as doing AI, maybe. Choosing algorithms.
Pretty much, yeah. You select appropriate algorithms. Maybe it's a convolutional neural network for images or a random forest for predictions based on tabular data. Then you train the model on your prepared data. But it's not just training once.
What else?
You need to optimize it. That involves hyperparameter tuning, tweaking the model's settings to get the best performance. And importantly, you also need to think about model explainability and fairness during development, not just afterwards. Accuracy isn't everything.
Explainability. Knowing why the model makes a certain prediction.
Exactly. Especially in areas like finance or healthcare, you can't just have a black box. You need to understand its reasoning. So you choose models or use techniques that allow for that.
Got it. So develop, train, tune, ensure it's understandable. What's phase 5? Testing it.
You got it. Phase 5 is model evaluation. This is where you rigorously test the model you've built to make sure it's reliable and actually works well.
How do you evaluate it? Just check the accuracy again.
Accuracy is part of it, but you look at other metrics too. Depending on the goal, things like precision, recall, F1 score, you test it on data it hasn't seen before to see how well it generalizes. Critically, you also explicitly test for biases and any ethical red flags.
And stakeholder feedback comes in here too.
Yes, absolutely. Before you even think about deploying it widely, you get feedback from the people who will use it or be impacted by it. Does it meet their needs? Does it behave as expected?
So it's like a reality check before going live.
Precisely. Performance in the lab can be very different from performance in the wild. This phase is crucial for catching issues before they cause real problems.
Okay, makes sense. And that leads us to the final phase, number 6.
Phase 6, deployment and monitoring. This is about getting the validated model out there and making sure it keeps working.
Deployment. Putting it on servers, maybe using cloud platforms.
Yeah, often using cloud platforms like AWS, Google Cloud, Azure for scalability and management. But deployment isn't the end. That's a key message of CPMAI and MLOps.
Right, the monitoring part.
Exactly. You need continuous, real-time monitoring. Is the model's performance degrading over time? This is called model drift. Maybe the data patterns in the real world are changing.
Like your chatbot example, or maybe fraud patterns changing.
Perfect examples. So you monitor performance and you set up automated retraining pipelines. When performance dips or when new data becomes available, the model can be automatically retrained and updated to stay accurate and relevant.
And those MLOps tools you mentioned earlier, like Prometheus, Grafana, SageMaker, they help with this phase?
They're essential for this phase. They provide the infrastructure for robust deployment, effective monitoring, logging, alerting, and automating those retraining workflows. It makes the whole process manageable and continuous.
Wow, okay. That's a really comprehensive life cycle. So looping back, why is following a framework like CPMAI v7 so vital for AI success?
Well, like we touched on, so many AI projects fail. Often it's because they skipped steps, underestimated data issues, ignored governance, or didn't plan for deployment and monitoring properly. CPMAI provides that structure, that roadmap to avoid those common pitfalls. It helps ensure projects are not just technically feasible, but actually deliver business value, are scalable, and are built responsibly.
Can you just quickly summarize the top benefits again?
Sure. Number 1, it reduces AI risks, including bias. 2, it helps deliver faster with Agile integration. 3, it supports effective scaling using MLOps. And 4, it embeds governance and compliance throughout. It basically increases your odds of success significantly.
You mentioned fraud detection. Any other really compelling example of why that ongoing monitoring is just non-negotiable?
Think about self-driving cars. The AI models controlling them have to adapt to constantly changing road conditions, new construction, different weather, unpredictable human drivers. You can't just train it once and deploy it forever. Continuous monitoring, updating, and retraining based on real-world driving data is literally a matter of life and death.
Yeah, that definitely drives the point home. Okay, this has been super insightful on CPMI v7 itself. Let's pivot slightly. For our listeners, maybe those leading intermediate AI teams, what are some key best practices drawing from CPMI they should really focus on?
Great question. For teams past the initial experimentation phase, I'd say, first, seriously adopt data versioning. Use tools like DVC or MLflow. Track your data like you track your code. It's crucial for reproducibility.
All right, data versioning. What else?
Second, embrace MLOps for automation. Automate data pipelines, model training, testing, deployment monitoring. It frees up your team and makes everything more reliable. Third, prioritize bias and fairness checks early and often. Don't wait until the end.
Right, build it into the process.
Exactly. And finally, maybe the most important, foster real collaboration. Get your data scientists, ML engineers, DevOps people, and business stakeholders talking constantly. Break down those silos.
You mentioned a common mistake intermediate teams make.
Uh-huh.
What was that again?
Yeah, it's often failing to keep the business stakeholders deeply involved throughout the project. It's easy for the tech team to get focused on the model and lose sight of the actual business problem or how the solution needs to fit into workflows. Early and continuous business input is key.
Absolutely crucial. Okay, this has been fantastic. If listeners want to dig deeper into CPMAI V7, what are some concrete next steps?
Well, there are formal CPMAI certification courses available, which are obviously a great way to get structured learning.
Huh?
Also, join online communities, LinkedIn groups, forums focused on AI project management or MLOps. Learn from others' experiences, and just generally stay curious. Keep reading about AI trends, MLOps, tools, ethical AI developments. It's a fast-moving field. Excellent advice. And to everyone listening, we definitely want to hear from you. What are your biggest challenges managing AI projects right now? Let us know in the comments. And please follow or subscribe so you don't miss our future deep dives. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Yeah, thank you. It was a great chat. And just remember, building great AI isn't just about the algorithms. It's about the process, the collaboration, and the commitment to doing it responsibly. Keep learning, keep building.